It was one of those days when the sky looks heavy, not with rain, but with the weight of something invisible, something that lingers in the air, loneliness perhaps. The streets bustled with people rushing to places, eyes glued to their phones, or simply too busy avoiding any glance that might connect them to someone else's pain. And there, sitting on the cold concrete, beneath the faded shadow of a broken street lamp, a woman. Her clothes were torn, her hair tangled, her hands clutching an old, dirty blanket that barely covered her fragile body. But it wasn't her appearance that caught the attention of those few who dared to look. It was her eyes. Deep, hollow, yet somehow still carrying a flicker of light. A light that refused to die, no matter how cruel life had been to her. She watched people pass. Some pretended not to see her. Others didn't bother pretending. They just looked right through her as if she didn't exist. But suddenly, something broke the monotony of her endless waiting. A sound, small, fragile, a child's cry. Her eyes scanned the crowd. The sound grew louder, desperate, heartbreaking. She rose, clutching her blanket tighter, following the voice. Each step filled with hesitation, but also with something she hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. And then she saw him. A boy, no older than 6, sitting on the curb, knees pulled to his chest, face buried in his tiny hands. His sobs cut through the noise of the city like a knife. People passed by, some glanced, most ignored. No one stopped. No one asked. Her heart tightened. Something about that child. Something felt painfully familiar. Slowly, she approached, kneeling beside him. Hey, sweetheart. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, like someone who had forgotten what it was like to speak kindly. Are you okay? The boy flinched, startled, then looked up. Big brown eyes, flooded with tears, stared into hers. His little lips trembled as he tried to speak. I can't find my daddy, he stuttered, gasping between sobs. I lost him. I was holding his hand, and then he was gone. She swallowed hard, glancing around. No one seemed to care. No one noticed. Her mind raced. Should she help? Could she help? After all, who was she to offer anything to anyone? She didn't even have anything for herself. But then, looking into those terrified little eyes, there was no question. You're safe now, okay? I'm here. I'll help you, she said, forcing a small smile that cracked through the stiffness of her weathered face. What's your name? He sniffled, wiping his nose with his sleeve. Lucas. Okay, Lucas. We'll find your daddy. I promise. But as the words left her mouth, a shadow of doubt crossed her mind. A doubt she didn't let him see. Because deep down, she knew this wouldn't be easy. Not for someone like her. And yet, for the first time in what felt like forever, she stood up. Not for herself, but for someone else. She reached out her hand. Come on, hold my hand tight. Don't let go, okay? Lucas nodded, his tiny fingers wrapping around hers. They were small, but full of trust. Trust in someone who the world had given up on. As they began walking through the endless crowd, neither of them noticed that far away, on the other side of the busy avenue, a man stood frozen, eyes wide, panic all over his face, desperately searching. Searching for the very thing that had just slipped through his fingers. The city pulsed with life, but not the kind that nurtures. It was the kind that suffocates, drowns out the voices of the forgotten, the invisible, and now the terrified. Lucas gripped her hand as if it were the only thing tethering him to safety. His small fingers trembled, his tiny legs struggling to keep up with her hurried steps. She wasn't moving fast because she wanted to. She was moving fast because every second that passed felt like something horrible could happen. Do you remember where you last saw your daddy? She asked, glancing down, her voice gentle but firm. Lucas shook his head rapidly. I don't. We were walking. There were so many people. Then he was gone. I looked, and he wasn't there anymore. His lip quivered again. She pressed her lips together, scanning the street. Cars honked. People weaved in and out of each other like they were all running from something, or maybe toward nothing. No one noticed a boy crying. No one noticed her. They never did. Her eyes darted to a coffee shop on the corner. Bright, warm, full of people. Maybe someone had seen something. She pulled Lucas gently. "Let's check here, okay?" As they stepped inside, the contrast hit hard. The warm smell of coffee, the sound of laughter, the chime of a cash register. It was a world entirely separate from the cold reality they had just stepped out of. The moment they walked in, heads turned. Not out of kindness, not out of concern, but out of discomfort, disgust. Whispers started. "Look at her. God, she smells. Someone call security." She felt it. She always did. That burning sensation of being watched. Not like a person, but like a stain. Something to be wiped away. Lucas tightened his grip, sensing it too. He pressed closer to her side, hiding his face in her worn jacket. She ignored the whispers. She had become an expert at that. But Lucas shouldn't have to learn how to do that. Not at his age. She approached the counter, clearing her throat. "Excuse me," her voice cracked, but she steadied it. Did anyone see a little boy's father? He's lost. They got separated." The barista, a young woman with a carefully curated smile, blinked, then scrunched her nose as if a foul odor had just crept under it. She exchanged a quick glance with her co-worker before answering. No, we didn't. You really shouldn't be here." Her words were coated with fake politeness, the kind that barely masks the real message underneath. "Leave. You don't belong here." I'm just trying to help," she said quietly, her eyes pleading. "I'm sorry, but you're making the customers uncomfortable." The barista gestured vaguely toward the door. Lucas's eyes filled with fresh tears. He tugged her sleeve. "Please, I just want my daddy." His tiny voice cracked like glass. Something inside her snapped, not in anger, but in something deeper, something raw. She crouched down to Lucas's level, cupping his small face in her hands. Hey, don't cry. Don't cry, baby. We'll find him. You hear me? We will. I won't let anything happen to you." But as she said it, for the first time, she wondered if she was lying. She stood up, took his hand again, and turned away from the judgmental eyes behind her. As they stepped out of the cafe, a familiar wave of humiliation washed over her. But neither of them noticed that just a few blocks away, a man was frantically speaking to police officers, his face pale, hands shaking. I lost him. My son. Please. He's 6. Brown hair. Brown eyes. His name is Lucas. I looked down and he was gone." The officer nodded. "We'll start searching the area, sir. Stay calm. Stay here in case he comes back. We'll find him." But the man's eyes scanned the horizon, his heart pounding with a question that grew louder with every passing second. What if we don't? The sun hung low in the sky now, casting long shadows that stretched across the pavement like dark hands trying to pull everything into the ground. The air grew colder, heavier. People rushed home, eager to escape the creeping chill, unaware that for some, the real cold didn't come from the wind, but from life itself. She tightened her grip on Lucas's hand. His small legs struggled to keep up, but he didn't complain. He was brave, braver than most adults she'd ever met. "We'll find him, I promise," she repeated, though the words were starting to feel heavier on her tongue. But where to look? The city was massive, crowded, and cruel. People vanished here all the time. Some vanished physically, others emotionally, forgotten by everyone. She paused at the corner of a busy intersection, scanning left and right. Neon signs flickered to life as dusk settled in. Cars honked. Music blared from passing windows. And yet, beneath it all, she could still hear Lucas's tiny breaths. Quick, uneven, full of fear. "Do you remember anything, Lucas?" she asked gently. "Were you coming from somewhere? A park? A store?" Lucas bit his lip, trying to remember. We were walking after getting ice cream. Daddy had to take a phone call, and I think I saw a puppy. I let go of his hand for just a second, and then he wasn't there anymore." She nodded, piecing it together. Her eyes scanned the street. Ice cream. Phone call. Distraction. Lost. But then something caught her eye. Across the street, half hidden behind a newspaper stand, a figure watched them. Someone. A man. Not the father. Someone else. He pretended to look at the magazines, but his eyes kept flicking toward them. A grin tugged at the corner of his mouth. Not a kind one. The kind that made her skin crawl. Her instinct screamed. She knew this kind of man. The type who saw weakness and fed on it. She turned her body slightly, placing herself between Lucas and the man without drawing attention. Her heartbeat quickened. Come on, sweetheart, she whispered. Stay close, closer. Lucas pressed against her side. WHY? Just stay close, okay? Her voice shook, but she forced it down. The man began to move, slowly, casually crossing the street. Hands in his pockets, eyes locked on them. She glanced around. No police, no father, no help. Just people walking, scrolling on phones, ignoring the reality 2 feet away from them. Her breath hitched. Think. A narrow alley to the left caught her eye. Not ideal. Dark. Dangerous. But better than standing in the open. Lucas, listen to me. We're going to play a little game, okay? On the count of 3, we're going to run as fast as we can. Can you do that? Lucas's eyes widened. He nodded quickly. Oh, okay. 1. She felt the man getting closer. 2. His footsteps grew louder. 3. Run. She grabbed Lucas's hand and darted into the alley. The man cursed behind them. Hey, wait up. No. She wasn't waiting. Not for him. Not ever. They bolted down the alley, dodging trash bins, puddles, piles of cardboard. Her legs burned. Her lungs screamed. But adrenaline drowned everything else. Faster, Lucas. Don't let go. Don't you let go. Behind them, footsteps thundered. The man was chasing. For a split second, her mind screamed. Why am I doing this? Why am I risking this? But one look at Lucas, his terrified little face, his trust, his innocence, answered everything. Because someone has to. Her feet slammed against the uneven pavement, dodging broken crates and puddles of murky water as she pulled Lucas deeper into the alley. Her heart pounded so violently it felt like it might tear through her chest. Lucas's tiny legs struggled, but he didn't dare let go. His fingers were locked so tightly around hers that his knuckles turned white. Behind them, the man's heavy boots echoed, getting closer. You're making this harder than it needs to be, his voice bellowed, filled with malicious amusement. Come on, I just want to talk. Lies. She'd heard voices like his before. She'd learned long ago that nothing good ever followed words like that. Her eyes darted wildly. Left, a chain-link fence. Right, a stack of rotting wooden pallets. Dead and straight ahead. No. Lucas, over here, she hissed, yanking him toward a small gap between a dumpster and the crumbling wall of an abandoned building. It wasn't much, barely wide enough for her to squeeze through, but it would have to do. They squeezed in just as the man's silhouette turned the corner behind them. She flattened her back against the wall, pulling Lucas tightly into her chest, covering his mouth gently with her trembling hand. Shh. Stay quiet, baby. Stay very quiet. Lucas's chest rose and fell rapidly, but he nodded. His little body trembled against hers. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Closer. The man's voice slithered through the air. Where are you, huh? You can't hide forever. She bit her lip so hard it nearly bled. Her fingers trembled, gripping Lucas tighter as if sheer willpower could make them invisible. A shadow passed in front of the gap. His boots. Right there. Just feet away. Come on, don't make me mad now. His tone shifted, darker, meaner. For a moment, it felt like the entire world had shrunk down to just the sound of breathing. Hers, Lucas's, his, and the deafening thump of her heartbeat. The man paused, looked around. Then, a voice echoed from the street. Hey, what are you doing back there? A stranger. Someone passing by. The man flinched. Mind your own business, he barked back. But the voice didn't back down. You hassling someone? I'm calling the cops. The man cursed under his breath. Boots scraping against gravel. Quick steps. Running away. Silence. She waited, breath held. 5 seconds, 10, 15, gone. Her legs nearly gave out. She let out a shaky breath she didn't realize she was holding and looked down at Lucas, who had fresh tears streaming down his face but stayed silent the entire time. Brave. So brave. She cupped his tiny face, pressing her forehead against his. It's okay now. He's gone. You did so good. So good. Baby, her voice cracked, but she forced it steady. Lucas sniffled. I was scared. I know, me too, she whispered honestly. No use pretending. But as she sat there, clutching him to her chest, something else gnawed at the edges of her mind. This city, this life, it's not safe. Not for someone like him. Not for someone like me. And yet, even in the middle of this chaos, holding him, protecting him, felt more right than anything had in years. Far away, blocks away, the father stood pacing, running a hand through his hair, barking into his phone. No, you don't understand. My son is 6 years old. 6. He's alone out there. Find him. His voice cracked. His entire world was unraveling. A nearby officer placed a hand on his shoulder. Sir, we're doing everything we can, but you need to stay calm. Calm. His voice shook. Calm? My wife died. I already lost her. I can't lose him too. His hands trembled. I can't. The alley grew silent once more, but the silence wasn't comforting. It was the kind that presses against your chest like a weight you can't shake off. She sat there for a moment longer, her back against the cold brick wall, feeling the tremors still rolling through her body. Lucas wiped his face with the sleeve of his tiny jacket, trying his best to be brave, but his lips trembled. Is he going to come back? He whispered. She shook her head softly, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. No, not if we stay smart. Not if we move. Her voice was calm, at least on the outside. On the inside, a storm. Her eyes scanned the end of the alley. It looked clear for now, but her instincts whispered that danger in this city was never really far away. She pulled herself up slowly, then reached down for Lucas's hand. Come on, sweetheart. We have to keep going. We have to find your daddy. As I stepped back onto the sidewalk, the world felt different, more threatening, more dangerous. Every passing stranger seemed like a possible threat now. Every glance lingered too long. Every shadow felt like it could come alive. But she held Lucas's hand tighter. She wasn't letting go. Not now. Not ever. They turned a corner, heading toward the city square, the busiest part of town. If there was anywhere his father might be looking, it had to be there. As they walked, something started to gnaw at the edges of her mind. A familiar ache, dull at first, but growing sharper with each step. Hunger, exhaustion, the cruel reminders of how fragile her body had become after months. No years of living without enough food, without enough sleep, without safety. But she shoved it down. There wasn't time to be weak. Not now. Lucas, she asked softly, what's your daddy's name? If we shout for him, maybe he'll hear us. Lucas sniffled. His name is Nathan. Nathan, she repeated quietly. The name felt foreign on her tongue, like the name of someone who belonged to a completely different universe than hers. A universe of clean clothes, warm houses, and safe places. A universe she hadn't been part of in a very, very long time. She squeezed Lucas's hand. All right, let's find Nathan. They made it to the square. Lights, noise, crowds, dozens, no, hundreds of faces. None of them familiar. None of them his father. She led Lucas up onto a bench, lifting him so he could see better. Look around, do you see him? Lucas stood on tiptoe, scanning the sea of strangers. His eyes flicked left, right, panic building. I don't see him. She bit her lip, fighting the wave of hopelessness rising in her chest. She glanced around. Her eyes landed on a nearby security guard standing by the entrance of a department store. Maybe he could help. But even as the thought formed, another voice in her head, louder, crueler, shot it down. No, don't. They'll look at you and see a homeless woman with a child. They won't believe you. Worse, they might think you took him. Her stomach twisted. She knew how the world worked. She knew how people like her were treated. But then, Lucas's small voice broke through her panic. Look, he whispered, pointing. There. Her eyes followed his finger. Across the square, standing near the edge of the fountain, was a man, well-dressed, hands in his hair, pacing back and forth, looking around wildly. His face pale, desperate. Lucas's eyes widened. That's my daddy. But before they could move, a car screeched to a halt at the curb nearby. Two men stepped out, well-dressed, but not the good kind. The kind with expensive shoes and eyes that could cut glass. Her stomach dropped. No, not now, not them. Because she knew exactly who those men were. She'd seen them before, and whenever they showed up, bad things followed. Her pulse quickened, hammering against her ribs like a warning drum. She knew those men, not by name, no one ever knew their names, but by reputation, by the way they carried themselves, by the way people instinctively moved out of their path when they appeared. Men like that didn't show up unless money was involved or trouble, or both. One of them adjusted the cuffs of his tailored jacket, scanning the square with sharp, calculating eyes. The other spoke into a phone, glancing around as if searching for someone, for something. Her instinct screamed. This wasn't coincidence. No way. She crouched slightly, keeping Lucas behind her. Don't look at them, baby. Stay close to me. Stay quiet, she whispered, her voice low but firm. Lucas didn't argue. His small fingers gripped the fabric of her coat, burying his face against her back. Her eyes darted back to the man near the fountain, Nathan. She didn't know his name yet, but now she had a face. He was frantic. His hands ran through his hair over and over. His phone pressed his ear. His mouth moved fast like he was pleading, begging. For a second, she saw something familiar in him. Not the polished, powerful image the world likely saw, but a man unraveling. A man drowning in fear. A man who'd already lost too much and was on the verge of losing everything. But the men in suits, they weren't looking at him. They were scanning the crowd, and slowly, far too slowly, their eyes started to shift in her direction. No, don't notice me. Don't notice him. One of them nudged the other, tilting his head toward her. A whisper, a glance, a grin, small, cruel. Her breath hitched. Her entire body tensed. They started walking, straight toward her. Lucas, when I say run, you run. You don't look back. You hear me? Her voice trembled, but it was steady enough to carry the weight of her desperation. Lucas whimpered. But my daddy's right there. I know, baby, but we can't go yet. Not like this. Her eyes darted wildly. Think. But fate had other plans. A voice rang out across the square. Lucas, Nathan. He'd spotted them. His voice cracked, desperate, raw, full of panic and overwhelming relief. His feet moved before his brain even caught up, sprinting across the square toward them. Lucas's head snapped up. Daddy, he screamed, tearing free from her grip and bolting. Her heart dropped. No, wait, Lucas. But it was too late. Lucas ran, right past the two suited men. Nathan knelt, arms wide, catching his son mid-run, crushing him into his chest. His eyes squeezed shut, tears streaming down his face. Oh my God, Lucas. I've got you. I'm so sorry. His voice broke completely. But as the reunion unfolded, the two men didn't stop. Their eyes shifted, not toward Nathan, not toward Lucas, but toward her. Her breath caught in her throat. Cold fingers of dread wrapped around her spine as the two men adjusted their pace. No longer scanning, no longer pretending. Their eyes locked on her like wolves who'd finally spotted a wounded deer separated from the herd. Why? Her mind raced. Why me? What do they want? She glanced back at Nathan, now kneeling on the ground, arms wrapped tightly around Lucas. The father's tears soaked into the boy's hair. It was a reunion so pure, so fragile, so desperately needed that it felt like time itself should have frozen to honor it. But the world doesn't stop for moments like that. Not here, not in this city. She took a step back, then another. Her feet scraped against the pavement. But the men advanced, slowly, deliberately, like they had all the time in the world, like they knew she wasn't going anywhere. Her chest tightened. Not now, not after everything. And then, one of them finally spoke, Voice smooth, cold, practiced. Didn't expect to see you again. Thought you disappeared for good. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Her entire body tensed. The taller one crossed his arms, his smile thin, razor sharp. Relax. We just want to talk. Talk. She knew exactly what that meant. People like them didn't talk. They collected. They demanded. They reminded people of debts. Debts that never really disappeared, even when the world had already taken everything else. Her fingers curled into fists. I don't have anything. I told you. I don't have anything left. The shorter man chuckled darkly, taking a step closer. You think this is about money? He tilted his head. No, sweetheart. This ain't about money anymore. Her stomach twisted. The air felt thinner. Her eyes darted left, right, searching for escape, but every path looked like it led straight into a wall. Nathan hadn't noticed yet. He was too focused on Lucas. Whispering, hugging, checking him over, hands shaking as he made sure his son was okay. And then, something shifted. A voice. Hey, it wasn't loud, but it was enough. Enough to slice through the tension like a knife. Both men turned their heads. Nathan stood, his face a mess of confusion, exhaustion, fear, but now sharpened into something else. Protective. Dangerous. His eyes darted from his son to the woman, then to the two men. His brows knitted, his jaw clenched. What exactly are you doing? His tone was low, controlled, but it carried the kind of weight that made grown men think twice. The taller thug glanced at his partner, then smiled thinly. Nothing, sir. Just handling a little unfinished business. Nathan's eyes narrowed. He stepped forward, subtly pushing Lucas behind his legs. With her, his voice dropped colder. She's with me. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Final. The taller man blinked, then scoffed. Since when? Nathan didn't blink. Since now. A tense silence. The shorter man shifted uncomfortably, clearly weighing his options. Nathan tilted his head, voice steady but sharp. You got two choices. Walk away, or I'll make sure every officer currently crawling these streets looking for my son gets your faces, your plates, and your full names. I guarantee at least 3 of them already recognize you. How do you think it's going to go for you? For a split second, the men hesitated, calculating. The taller one clicked his tongue. TC, this ain't over. He jabbed a finger toward her. We'll be seeing you. With that, they turned, walked back toward their car. Didn't run, didn't rush. But anyone watching closely could see it, the tension in their shoulders, the stiffness in their steps. Nathan watched them until they disappeared down the street, then slowly turned his gaze back. First, to Lucas. He knelt down, hands cradling the boy's face, his voice cracking. You're okay. Daddy's here. Then his eyes lifted to her, and for the first time, their eyes truly met. And in that brief, electric second, something shifted, something irreversible. For a moment, none of them spoke. The noise of the city faded into a distant hum, like the world itself was holding its breath. Nathan's eyes were locked on hers, searching, questioning, grateful but also confused. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. What was she supposed to say? I found your son. I saved him. Also, by the way, 2 dangerous men almost came after me while I was doing that. But the words tangled somewhere between her mind and her lips. She hadn't spoken to someone like him, someone from his world, in years, maybe longer. Nathan rose slowly, still holding Lucas against his side. His arms trembled, whether from relief, exhaustion, or the fading adrenaline. Not even he knew. His eyes flicked back and forth, scanning her, her torn clothes, her tired face, the thinness of her frame. But then, something else. Not pity, not judgment. Something deeper. Are you the one who? His voice faltered. He cleared his throat, tightened his grip on Lucas. Are you the one who found him? Her lips parted. She hesitated, then nodded once. Yeah, I found him. He was alone, crying. Her voice came out rough, dry, like someone who hadn't used it for more than survival in a long, long time. Nathan blinked. His chest rose and fell, struggling to find the right words. The the words that matched the hurricane of emotions swirling inside him. Gratitude, relief, confusion, guilt. He stepped forward, awkwardly shifting Lucas into one arm, then extending his free hand. Thank you. I don't even know how to. For a split second, she stared at his hand like it was a foreign object. No one had offered her a handshake in years. Maybe ever. Her fingers twitched, then slowly, hesitantly, she reached out. Her hand slid into his. Rough, calloused, thin. His was warm, steady, strong. They shook hands, but it felt like something much bigger than that. Nathan's eyes softened. I was terrified. His voice broke. He pulled Lucas closer, pressing his lips against his son's hair. I thought I lost him. I thought I was going to lose him just like I lost her. Her brows furrowed slightly. He swallowed hard. His mom, my wife, she passed. A year after he was born. Cancer. His voice trailed off, raw, exposed. It's just been me and him ever since. For a moment, the pain between them wasn't so different. Her gaze softened. I'm sorry, she murmured. And for the first time, she meant it. Deeply. Lucas tugged Nathan's shirt. Daddy, she helped me. When nobody else did, when everyone walked by, his little voice trembled. She held my hand, and she said I was safe. Nathan's throat tightened. He crouched slightly, bringing himself to eye level with both of them. Thank you, he said again, quieter this time, but heavier, full of something unspoken, something neither of them knew how to name yet. But before anything else could be said, a loud honk blared behind them. They all flinched. A sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb. A uniformed man stepped out, driver, maybe security. He glanced around, then hurried toward Nathan. Sir, thank God, we've been looking everywhere. Nathan waved him off. It's okay. I found him. His voice steadied, turning back toward her. Or rather, she did. The driver glanced at her, confusion flashing across his face. Then discomfort. Then the carefully composed, blank expression of someone who wasn't sure how to process seeing his boss interacting with someone like her. Nathan stood fully now, adjusting Lucas on his hip. Look, I don't know your name, he said, glancing down awkwardly. But please, come with us. Let me do something, anything, to thank you. Her eyes widened. She stepped back instinctively. No, I can't. Please. Nathan's voice was firm, gentle, desperate in its own way. I insist. You saved my son. He swallowed. Just please. Her fingers tightened around the frayed edges of her coat. Every part of her screamed run. Disappear. Fade. That was what life had taught her. That was survival. But Lucas's tiny voice broke the tension. Daddy, can she come? Please? She kept me safe. Nathan's eyes met hers. Please. Just one word. Heavy. Honest. And for the first time in years. She didn't say no. The door to the SUV swung open with a soft mechanical hum. Lucas climbed inside first, clinging tightly to Nathan's arm, as though terrified that letting go for even a second might shatter this fragile reunion. Nathan reached a hand toward her, not to help her inside, but as a silent gesture. It's okay. You can trust me. Her legs felt stiff, like they were filled with wet cement. Her mind screamed, Don't step in. This is not your world. You don't belong in shiny cars, with leather seats, with people like him. You don't belong anywhere except the sidewalk, the shadows, the forgotten corners. But then, Lucas turned, eyes wide, pleading, Please come. His tiny voice cracked. Her throat tightened. Her hands trembled. But, for reasons even she didn't fully understand, her body moved before her brain could stop it. One step, then another, and then she was inside. The door shut, quiet, final, and for the first time in so long, she was sitting somewhere warm, somewhere safe, somewhere that didn't smell like rain, dirt, and hopelessness. She sat stiff, hand in her lap, staring down, unsure where to put her gaze. The plush leather beneath her felt alien. The clean scent of the car, almost suffocating. Nathan settled Lucas beside him, then turned slightly toward her. His posture shifted from frantic father to something softer, grateful, curious. A long, heavy silence filled the cabin before Nathan finally broke it. "What's your name?" Her lips parted, but her voice caught. For a second, it felt like even her name didn't belong anymore. When was the last time anyone asked her that? When was the last time it mattered? She swallowed. "It's Emma." The word felt small, fragile, like something she hadn't spoken out loud in years. Nathan nodded slowly. "Emma," he repeated it, tasting it, grounding it. "I'm Nathan. And this," he ruffled Lucas's hair gently. "You already know." Lucas smiled shyly, then leaned against his father, fatigue finally creeping over him now that the fear was fading. Nathan turned his gaze back to her. "Emma, I don't even know where to start. I mean, how do you thank someone who—" His voice faltered. "Who saved your entire world?" She flinched at that. Her fingers twisted in her lap. I didn't do anything. He needed help. That's all." Nathan shook his head firmly. No, you did something. You did what no one else did." His voice lowered, edged with something raw. I saw how people looked at you. How they ignored you and him. How they walked right past." His fists clenched. "If you hadn't been there," his voice broke. "I don't even want to think about it." Silence. Heavy. Emma's throat tightened. Her eyes burned, but no tears came. Not because she didn't want to cry, but because somewhere along the way, her body had simply forgotten how. Nathan took a deep breath, glancing out the window, trying to steady the whirlwind inside him. "Look, I want to help you. Anything you need. A place, money, food, clothes, whatever it is, just say it." Her head snapped up, eyes wide. "No, I know. I didn't help him for that." Her voice trembled. "I don't want charity." Nathan blinked. His lips parted, but then he smiled. Not a polite, forced smile. A real one. Small, warm, honest. "It's not charity, Emma," he said softly. "It's gratitude. And maybe—" He hesitated, running a hand through his hair, letting out a breath. "Maybe it's also me, trying to figure out why. I feel like this isn't just about today." Her brows furrowed. What do you mean?" Nathan opened his mouth, but before he could answer, the driver's voice interrupted through the intercom. "Sir, are we heading home?" Nathan glanced at Emma, then down at Lucas, who was now half asleep against his shoulder. He hesitated, then made a decision that would change everything. "No, not yet. First, let's get something to eat." His eyes flicked back to Emma. "You look like you haven't had a real meal in a long time." Her lips parted, stunned. I. Nathan smiled again. "I won't take no for an answer." And for the first time in forever, Emma realized maybe she didn't want to say no. The SUV rolled smoothly through the streets, leaving behind the chaos of the city square. Inside, silence lingered, not uncomfortable but uncertain. The kind of silence that happens when two worlds that were never meant to collide suddenly do. Emma sat stiff, fingers tangled together so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her eyes darted between the clean leather seats, the polished dashboard, the soft glow of the touchscreen controls. All of it felt like something out of a dream, or a life she'd watched pass by through windows she was never allowed to enter. Nathan leaned back slightly, one arm cradling Lucas, who was now dozing, safe, wrapped in his father's warmth. His other hand drummed absently on his knee, a habit of someone whose brain never truly shut off. For a while, neither of them spoke. The city lights painted streaks of gold and red across their faces as the car moved forward. And then, Nathan broke the silence. "Emma," his voice was softer now. Where were you headed before you found him?" She blinked. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Where was I headed? It was almost a ridiculous question. "Nowhere," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "I wasn't headed anywhere. I exist, wherever the day lets me." Her eyes dropped to her hands. "I haven't had somewhere to be in a long time." Nathan's jaw tightened. He looked at her differently now, not with pity, but with something heavier. A weight of realization, of guilt, of awareness. "I'm sorry," he murmured, almost to himself. This city, he shook his head. It's brutal. People walk past, pretend not to see. I've done it too. More times than I care to admit. Emma shrugged, forcing a tight, humorless smile. It's easier that way. If you stop and look, really look, it becomes too real. Her fingers tugged at the frayed seam of her coat. Easier to believe we're not people anymore. Just background noise. Nathan's chest tightened. His grip on Lucas instinctively pulled tighter. The driver's voice cut in gently. Sir, we're arriving at the restaurant. Emma's eyes shot wide. Wait, no. A restaurant? No, I can't. I can't go in there looking like this. Her voice broke, panic bubbling up. Nathan turned to her immediately, shaking his head. No, it's not. It's private. Don't worry. No one's gonna look at you like that. His voice was firm, protective. But Emma hugged herself, her gaze darting around, breathing quickening. Nathan, I'm not like you. I don't belong in places like that. Her voice trembled. Nathan didn't hesitate. He reached out, not to grab her, not to force her, but to offer his hand again. You belong wherever you are, Emma. His gaze softened, steady, grounding. You belong because you exist, because you breathe, because you matter. Her breath caught. Her fingers hovered, shaking, then slowly, her hand met his. The SUV pulled smoothly into an underground garage. Private, discreet. The door opened. Nathan stepped out first, carefully cradling Lucas against his shoulder. He turned back, offering his hand once more to Emma. She took it. They walked together toward the elevator. Nathan pressed a button. Penthouse floor. Her eyes darted up. Penthouse. He glanced back with a small smile. Yeah, the restaurant's on the rooftop. His eyes softened. No one will bother us there. Promise. The elevator doors closed with a soft ding, sealing them inside. As the floor numbers climbed, neither of them noticed the way their hands lingered longer than necessary. Neither of them noticed, but fate did. The elevator ascended in silence, broken only by the soft hum of the motor and the glowing numbers ticking upward. Floor, 12, 14, 18, 20, penthouse. Emma stood stiff, her reflection staring back at her from the mirrored walls. Messy hair, sunken cheeks, dirt smudged along her skin, her coat frayed beyond repair. And standing right beside her, Nathan, impeccable, composed. His tailored suit contrasted so violently against her that it felt almost surreal. What am I doing here? The thought looped in her mind. Her fingers curled tighter into her coat. Her chest tightened. This isn't my world. This isn't my place. But then she glanced down. Lucas. His small hand rested gently against hers, even as he leaned half asleep against his father's chest. No, this is exactly why I'm here. The elevator chimed softly. The doors slid open, and Emma's breath caught. A breathtaking space stretched before her. Floor-to-ceiling glass windows revealed the entire city skyline, twinkling under the night sky. Soft, warm lighting glowed from chandeliers that looked like falling stars. Elegant tables, perfectly set with white linen and crystal, dotted the open rooftop, surrounded by lush green plants swaying in the breeze. And yet, it wasn't crowded. In fact, it was empty, completely private, reserved. Nathan glanced over his shoulder with a small, reassuring smile. I told you, just us. She hesitated at the threshold, her feet glued to the marble floor, her hands shaking. Nathan, this place. Her voice cracked. I don't belong here. Nathan stepped closer, lowering Lucas gently into a velvet chair nearby. Emma, his voice softened like a balm over every raw nerve in her body. You belong anywhere you decide to be. Period. His gaze locked with hers. And right now, you belong here. Her lips trembled, but she nodded. Not because she fully believed it yet, but because, somehow, a part of her wanted to. A waiter, dressed immaculately, approached. Polite, professional, but there was a flicker of confusion behind his carefully trained expression when his eyes briefly scanned Emma. Nathan didn't let it linger. We'll have the usual, Richard, and a kid's menu for my son. He glanced at Emma, then added, and bring the chef's special for her. Something warm, something filling. The waiter nodded, masking his curiosity. Of course, sir. As Richard disappeared, Nathan turned back, loosening his tie slightly, as though trying to close the gap between their worlds. Sit, please, he said gently. Emma pulled out the chair like it was made of glass, terrified she might break something just by existing near it, and slowly sat. Her hands remained locked together, twisting the fabric of her sleeves. Nathan studied her quietly for a moment, then leaned forward, elbows on the table. How long? His voice was careful, gentle. How long have you been, you know? Her throat tightened. On the street. Her eyes dropped. Long enough. Nathan's brows furrowed, but he didn't push. I'm sorry, he murmured, his fingers drumming against the table, then stilling. No one deserves that. No one. Emma swallowed. Life doesn't care what anyone deserves. Her voice came out softer than she intended. It just happens. Nathan sighed, rubbing his hand over his face. God. He glanced at Lucas, who was now nodding off fully in the chair, his little chest rising and falling softly. I can't stop thinking. If you hadn't been there, his voice broke. I don't know what I would have done. Emma's eyes softened. You're a good father, she whispered before even realizing the words were out. Nathan blinked, caught off guard. His mouth opened, but for the first time, Nathan, the man used to boardrooms, negotiations, contracts, power, was speechless. For a few seconds, the world felt very small. Just them. Just this table. Just this moment. Then, gently, Nathan smiled. And you are a good person. His voice was quiet, but full of something heavy. Real. Honest. Emma's eyes burned. Her throat tightened. She bit her lip, looking away quickly, blinking hard. No, don't cry. Not here. Not now. Before either could say anything more, the waiter returned, setting down steaming plates. Warm bread, pasta drizzled in cream and herbs. A plate of grilled chicken with mashed potatoes for Lucas. The smell hit Emma like a punch. Her stomach twisted painfully, the sharp, aching reminder of how long it had been since she'd smelled real food. Nathan smiled gently. Eat, please. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the fork. The first bite, warm, soft, melted in her mouth. And for a split second, her eyes fluttered closed. For the first time in years, she tasted something other than survival. The warmth of the food traveled through her body like something almost foreign, as if her bones, her muscles, her entire being had forgotten what it felt like to simply be full. For a moment, Emma couldn't speak, couldn't even look up. Her hands trembled slightly as she brought the next bite to her mouth, chewing slowly, trying and failing to hold back the sting burning behind her eyes. Nathan noticed. He noticed everything, but he didn't speak, didn't rush her, didn't fill the silence with empty words. Instead, he just sat there, watching her, letting her exist, letting her be, and maybe that was the kindest thing anyone had done for her in years. Lucas stirred in his chair, lifting his sleepy head just enough to reach for a piece of bread, then cuddling back against Nathan's side, half awake but comforted by the softness of the moment. Nathan chuckled quietly, brushing his fingers through his son's hair. He's been through so much today, his voice softened. We both have. Emma finally looked up, slowly, cautiously. I'm glad he's okay, she whispered. Her gaze lingered on Lucas. He's a good kid, brave, kinder than most adults I've ever met. Her lips twitched into the faintest smile. Nathan's eyes softened, following her gaze. Yeah, he's my entire world. His fingers gently squeezed Lucas's little hand. I don't even know how to explain what happened today. How fast everything, almost his voice cracked slightly, almost went horribly wrong. Emma lowered her gaze again, twisting her napkin between her fingers. This city, it doesn't care who you are. Rich, poor, happy, broken. It swallows everyone the same. One mistake, one moment of bad luck. That's all it takes to lose everything. Her voice trailed off, shaky. Nathan leaned forward, elbows on the table, hands clasped together. Is that what happened to you? His voice was gentle, careful, not demanding, just curious, honest. Emma hesitated. Her throat tightened. Her fingers clenched. Part of her wanted to shut down, deflect, run. She'd spent so long hiding her story that it felt dangerous to let it out. But the way he was looking at her, not with pity, not with judgment, but with something else, something she hadn't seen in a long, long time. Genuine care. She swallowed. Yeah, her voice was small. It started with losing my job, then the rent. Then everything else just fell apart, faster than I ever thought it could. Her hands trembled. I tried. I really tried. But the world doesn't stop. Bills don't stop. People stop caring. Nathan's chest tightened. His lips pressed into a line. God, I had no idea it could happen so fast. Emma let out a breath, part laugh, part bitterness. Nobody does. Not until it's them. And then it's too late. Her eyes met his, steady now. Raw. It can happen to anyone, Nathan. Anyone. Nathan leaned back, rubbing his jaw, processing every word. You're right. His voice was low. You're right. A heavy silence followed, but not uncomfortable. It was reflective. Shared. Then, after a few moments, Nathan's lips curved into a small, soft smile. Well, you should know. You saved me too today. Emma blinked, startled. What? Nathan's gaze didn't waver. I thought I was a good man, a good father, a good person. But today his voice softened. I realized how blind I've been, how much I've ignored, and how much I still have to learn. Emma's throat tightened. Her eyes burned. But this time, she didn't look away. I think, Nathan continued, voice barely above a whisper, meeting you today wasn't an accident. Her lips parted. Words stuck in her throat. Her heartbeat quickened. Neither of them noticed the way the world seemed to shrink down to just this table, just these two souls who, despite everything, had collided in a way neither of them ever expected. For a few long seconds, neither of them spoke. The air between them wasn't heavy, wasn't awkward. It was charged, full, thick with something neither of them could quite name. Emma stared at her hands, her fingers tracing the rim of the glass of water in front of her, as if grounding herself in something, anything that felt real. Nathan's eyes never left her. There was something about her, something that went far beyond her worn clothes, beyond the dirt smudging her skin or the way her hair fell messily around her face. It was her presence, her resilience, the undeniable truth that somehow, despite everything this world had done to her, she still had light left inside. And God, he hadn't realized how much he needed to see that light until right now. Emma cleared her throat softly, her voice barely more than a whisper. Nathan, she hesitated. I don't understand why you're being like this, being so kind. Her fingers tightened. People don't usually. Nathan sat back slightly, exhaling slowly, running a hand through his hair. His gaze softened but grew heavier, as if something deeper weighed behind it. Because his voice faltered for a second. Because you reminded me what really matters. His eyes shifted down to Lucas, still dozing peacefully against his side. I've spent so long hiding in my own world. Work, meetings, money, success. Like if I stayed busy enough, I wouldn't feel the hole. His voice cracked. The hole she left. Emma's eyes softened. Your wife. Nathan nodded slowly, his fingers brushing a stray hair from Lucas's forehead. Yeah, her name was Sarah. His voice grew distant, haunted. She was everything. My best friend. My anchor. My heart. His throat tightened. When she died, I thought I'd survive it. I had to. For him. But the truth is, I didn't. He swallowed. I buried myself in work. In responsibilities. In pretending I was okay. That he was okay. But today, his gaze flicked back to Emma, locking with hers. Today, the universe slapped me awake. And it did that through you. Emma's lips trembled. She shook her head slightly. I didn't do anything special. Nathan leaned forward, voice steady but soft. You did everything special. For a moment, her mask cracked. Her walls, built from years of pain, disappointment, betrayal, trembled under the weight of his words. Her chest tightened. Her breath hitched. But before her emotions could spill over, Nathan gently shifted the conversation. Do you have anyone? His voice was careful. Family, friends. Emma's face stiffened. Her eyes dropped. Her fingers twisted the napkin so tightly it threatened to rip. No. Her voice was barely audible. Not anymore. Nathan's heart clenched. Emma. She shook her head quickly, as if to stop the pity before it arrived. It's okay, really. You learn to stop expecting people to stay, or care, or her voice cracked, or remember you even exist. Silence. Nathan swallowed hard, his jaw clenching, his fingers curling into fists on the table. Well, his voice was firm now. Steady. That ends today. Emma blinked. What? Nathan leaned forward, gaze intense, unflinching. I don't know what this is. I don't know why the universe threw us into each other's lives like this. But what I do know, he took a breath, is that you're not invisible anymore. Not to me. Not to Lucas. Not to anyone. Emma's breath caught. Her vision blurred. Her lips trembled. Her hands shook. Nathan, but the words wouldn't come. Because for the first time, in longer than she could remember, someone saw her. Really saw her. Nathan's words hung in the air like something sacred. Heavy. Real. Alive. Emma couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Her fingers trembled so hard that she gripped the edge of the table just to ground herself, to remind her body she was still here, that this was real, that this was actually happening. No one had ever said that to her. Not since everything fell apart. Her lips parted, her throat tightened, and for a second, she almost let the tears fall. Almost. But she blinked fast, forcing them back. Because that's what life had taught her. Never let them see you break. Nathan noticed. Of course he noticed, but he didn't push. Didn't try to fix it with words that wouldn't be enough anyway. Instead, he did something far more powerful. He stayed. Present. Silent. Steady. Lucas stirred softly beside him, shifting in his sleep, his tiny fingers clutching Nathan's sleeve. Nathan brushed a gentle hand over his son's hair, grounding himself in the feeling. And then, quietly, Nathan leaned forward again. Emma, his voice was different now. Lower. Softer. I meant what I said. You're not invisible anymore. She swallowed hard, forcing her voice out. Nathan, you don't have to. Her hand shook. You don't owe me anything. I didn't help Lucas because I wanted something in return. Her voice cracked. I didn't save him because I know. His words were immediate. Certain. He leaned in just enough that his presence wrapped around her like a blanket. I know. You did it because that's who you are. Emma's eyes burned. Her jaw trembled. You don't know me, she whispered. Nathan smiled, soft, sad, warm. Not yet. Silence. But it wasn't empty. No, it was the opposite. It was full, heavy with something new, something fragile, something terrifying, something beautiful. Then Nathan leaned back slightly, exhaling. Look, I don't know how this works. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. But I can't just drop you back on the street. Emma's head snapped up. Her heart skipped. Nathan, No, his voice was firm. Steady. I won't. I can't. Not after today. Not after what you did. Not after he swallowed. Not after realizing how broken this world really is and how blind I've been to it. Her chest tightened. Her hands gripped the table. Nathan, I don't want pity or charity. I can't. Her voice cracked. I can't survive that. Not again. Nathan's gaze softened. It's not charity. He shook his head. It's gratitude. It's decency. His eyes met hers, steady, unflinching. It's something I want to do. He leaned forward again. Just let me help you. Tonight, come home with us. You can rest. Take a shower. Eat. Sleep. Safely. Without looking over your shoulder. His voice cracked slightly. Please, let me do that. Just that. Emma's mouth opened, but no words came. Her entire body trembled. The walls she'd spent years building were screaming to run, to disappear, to reject it all before it could hurt her. But another voice, softer, smaller, but growing, whispered something else. Maybe, just this once, it's okay to be safe. She stared at him, at his steady eyes, his gentle smile. The little boy asleep beside him who trusted her, maybe more than anyone ever had. Her lips trembled. Her throat burned. Her heart pounded so hard it felt like it might explode. And then, barely audible, barely real, she nodded. Okay. The car glided smoothly through the streets, but for Emma, each mile felt like crossing an invisible line between two worlds that were never meant to collide. Outside, the tall buildings, the glowing shop windows, the neon lights reflecting against the glass. A world she knew, but always from the wrong side of it. But tonight, she was on the other side, for the first time, and it felt surreal. Nathan stared ahead, occasionally exchanging quiet words with the driver, but every now and then, his gaze flicked to her. Subtle, careful, like he wasn't sure she was scared, overwhelmed, or simply trying to figure out if any of this was even real. Lucas, already surrendered to sleep, breathed softly in the back seat, as if finally, after everything, the world had become a safe place. At least for tonight. And then, the car turned left. The street shifted. Cleaner, wider, quieter, almost unreal. Iron gates, perfect gardens, mansions that looked like something out of a movie. The car slowed, passing through an automatic gate that opened silently, revealing a house so breathtaking. Emma wasn't sure if she was awake or dreaming. Glass walls, warm, golden lights glowing inside. A design that balanced concrete, wood, and glass like it belonged in an architectural magazine. In the front yard, a fountain shimmered under soft spotlights, water flowing peacefully. Emma froze, literally. Her hands gripped her own knees like she was bracing herself to not be pulled out of reality. Nathan noticed. His voice lowered, gentle. Hey, he looked at her, his tone soft but grounding. It's okay. You're safe here. She didn't respond. Didn't know how to. Her eyes dropped to her clothes, her hands, her hair. Every fiber of her screamed, I don't belong here. But before that thought could spiral, Nathan spoke again, as if reading her mind. Listen, I don't care about any of that. Not tonight. Not ever. The car stopped. The driver got out and opened the back door. Nathan stepped out first, carefully lifting Lucas, who didn't even stir. Then, he turned and offered his hand to her. Emma hesitated. Reflex. Fear. Shame. But beneath all that, something deeper, quieter, wanted to believe it was okay to take that hand. And she did. Her fingers slipped into his. She stepped out of the car, up the small stone step, and when the giant glass doors opened, she nearly lost her breath. Inside was something straight out of a world she'd only seen through windows. A high ceiling stretched above them. An open living room with a sleek built-in fireplace, massive cream-colored sofas, and an entire wall made of glass, offering an uninterrupted view of the sparkling city. Modern art adorned the walls. Lush green plants softened every corner. And the smell was home. Nathan walked toward the staircase, carrying Lucas in his arms. Before disappearing upstairs, he glanced back at her with a soft smile. Make yourself at home. I'm just putting him to bed. Emma stood there, frozen, unsure what to do. Part of her wanted to run, open that glass door, bolt back into the shadows, vanish. But another part, the part of her that she thought had died a long, long time ago, wanted to stay. Just for tonight. Just to remember what it felt like to be human. Her eyes caught her own reflection in the glass wall. And for the first time, she realized. There she was, standing in the middle of a world that was never meant for her. But somehow, for reasons she didn't yet understand, the door had opened. And maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something she never believed she could have. Nathan didn't grin like someone who'd won something. He didn't celebrate her yes like a victory. He just breathed, like in that single moment, both of them understood that her okay wasn't just a response. It was a whisper, a surrender, a quiet cry from someone who, maybe for the first time in forever, was allowing herself to be cared for. He simply nodded, his voice low, calm, steady, but filled with something far deeper. Okay. Simple. Gentle. No pressure. No expectations. No weight. From the back seat, Lucas mumbled sleepily, half in a dream. Daddy, can she Can she stay with us? Please." His voice was soft, fragile, full of innocence. Nathan glanced at Emma, a crooked smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "Well, looks like I'm outnumbered." And for the first time, Emma laughed. Small, shy, quiet, but real, like something deep inside her, something frozen for so long, had started to thaw. The waiter came back, asking if they needed anything else. Nathan shook his head. "No, thank you. We're good." And it was true. For the first time in a long time, they were. He stood up, lifting Lucas into his arms, the little boy's head resting against his shoulder like he had no more worries left in the world. Nathan glanced back, extending his hand to Emma, not like someone helping a person who was broken, but like someone offering a bridge, a connection, a way forward. She looked at it. Her hands were rough, her fingernails cracked, dirt under them, skin marked by a life no one wanted to see. For a second, she froze. But then, she took a breath and placed her hand in his. And it was strange, because it was easy, natural, like it fit. They walked back to the car in silence. On the way, Nathan glanced over. "There's a guest room. It's not much, but it's yours. For as long as you need." Emma nearly scoffed. "Not much." She shook her head, glancing at him with a look that was almost disbelief. "Nathan, I used to sleep under a bridge. Anything is much." Nathan didn't answer. He just squeezed her hand a little tighter. The elevator lights passed by quickly as they descended, like the world outside was spinning faster, like it was trying to catch up to what was happening inside this tiny space. When they reached the garage, the driver opened the car door. Nathan buckled Lucas in with the gentle precision of someone holding the most precious thing in the world. Then, he turned to Emma, holding the door open for her. She hesitated, adjusted her coat out of habit, though it wouldn't do much, and stepped in. As the car pulled away from the curb, gliding through the city, Emma looked out the window. She recognized the streets. She'd walked them, slept near them, sat on those corners, watched the same glowing lights from the sidewalks. But tonight, for the first time, she was on the other side of the glass, inside, and for the first time in forever, the world felt different. The car rolled to a gentle stop in front of the house. The driveway was quiet, lined with soft garden lights that flickered like tiny stars guiding the way. Nathan stepped out first, carefully lifting Lucas into his arms. The little boy barely stirred, completely surrendered to sleep, his face peaceful, his tiny hands gripping Nathan's shirt like he was holding on to the safest place in the world. Nathan glanced back at Emma, offering his hand again. There was no hesitation in him, no judgment, no second thoughts, just a quiet, steady presence. Emma stared at his hand for a second longer than she meant to. Her fingers twitched, her chest tightened. Every instinct screamed the same familiar line. "This isn't your world. You don't belong here." But then another voice, softer, quieter, but growing, whispered something different. "Maybe you do." She slid her hand into his. Warm, solid, real. And together, they stepped inside. The moment the door closed behind them, the weight of the outside world seemed to dissolve. Inside, it was silent, calm, safe. Nathan turned toward the staircase. "I'm going to put him to bed. Come with me. I'll show you the guest room." Emma followed. Her steps felt shaky, small, like walking through someone else's dream. Her eyes scanned every corner, the polished wood floors, the art-lined walls, the soft glow of hidden lights, the faint scent of lavender drifting through the air. They reached the top of the stairs. Nathan pushed open a door to Lucas's bedroom, a space that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Warm tones, a tiny teepee tent in the corner, shelves filled with books and toys. A galaxy nightlight projected soft stars onto the ceiling. Nathan laid Lucas down gently, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Good night, buddy," he whispered, pulling the blanket up to his chin. "You're safe now." Lucas murmured something in his sleep, and then was still. Nathan stood there for a moment longer, just watching him, his son, his entire world. His hands trembled for a second, maybe from exhaustion, maybe from the weight of everything that had happened, but he quickly steadied himself. Then he turned back to Emma. "Come on, this way." He led her down the hall to a door at the end. Pushing it open revealed a room that was simple, elegant, but more than anything, warm, inviting. A queen-size bed with soft, fluffy pillows, crisp white sheets, a small reading nook by the window, curtains pulled open to reveal the city skyline twinkling in the distance. On the opposite side, an ensuite bathroom, the door slightly ajar, revealing white tiles, soft towels, and a massive shower. Emma stepped inside, and for a second, her breath caught. Her fingers hovered near the edge of the bed, like she wasn't sure if she was even allowed to touch it. Nathan watched her carefully, gently. The bathroom's right there. There's clean towels, soap, shampoo, anything you need. He opened a nearby closet, pulling out a pair of sweatpants and a hoodie. They're probably big on you, but it's clean, comfortable. He placed them on the edge of the bed, then paused. His voice softened. If you need anything at all, I'm just down the hall. Emma stood there, staring, like her brain was trying to catch up with her heart. Nathan, her voice cracked. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to, he replied softly. Not tonight. He stepped back toward the door. Just rest. For a moment, neither of them moved. Their eyes locked. The air felt heavier, charged with something neither of them could name. Something fragile, something terrifying. But then, Nathan offered a small, tired smile. Good night, Emma. Her lips trembled. Good night, she whispered back. And as he closed the door behind him, for the first time in years, she was alone, in a room that was warm, safe, and hers, at least for tonight. The door clicked softly shut, and then silence. Not the kind of silence Emma knew too well. The empty, hollow silence of cold concrete floors, of streets that never sleep but never speak. No, this was different. This was quiet, warm, safe. She stood there for a moment, frozen in the middle of the room, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Her eyes scanned everything. The bed, the soft light coming from the small lamp by the window, the gentle sway of the curtains framing the city lights outside. Her fingers twitched. Her chest tightened. This isn't for you, the voice in her head whispered. This was never for you. But another voice, quieter but stronger than it had ever been, whispered back. Maybe it is now. Slowly, Emma stepped toward the bed. Her hands hovered over the soft fabric of the comforter. She pressed her palm against it. The sensation was strange, foreign, alien. It had been how long? Months? Years? Since she last touched something this clean. This soft. Her throat tightened. She blinked hard. No, don't cry. Not for this. Not for a bed. But her body betrayed her. Her lip trembled. Her eyes burned. And for the first time, in a long, long time, a tear slipped down her cheek. Not because of pain. Not because of hunger. But because for the first time, something good had happened. Something safe. She swallowed hard and forced her feet to move. Into the bathroom. When the light flicked on, her breath hitched. The mirror. She froze. The person staring back at her barely looked like her. Hollow eyes. Hair matted. Dirt smudged on her jaw, on her neck. Cracks on her lips. Skin pale, thinner than it should be. For a second, shame washed over her. Burning. But then, something shifted. No, not tonight. Not anymore. She turned on the shower. Steam started to rise, filling the air with warmth she hadn't felt in. God, how long? Slowly, she peeled off the layers, the worn jacket, the torn sweater, the jeans that barely held together. Piece by piece, like shedding the weight of the world off her skin. When the water hit her back, it was like the world shattered. A sob broke from her throat, sharp, unexpected, unstoppable. Her knees buckled. She braced herself against the wall as the water poured over her, soaking her hair, her skin, washing away not just the dirt, but the memories. The cold nights, the hungry mornings, the looks, the whispers, the people who crossed the street just to avoid her existence. Gone, at least for tonight. Her hands ran through her hair, trembling. Soap, warmth, water, things that used to be normal, things that were now miracles. She stayed there for what felt like forever, letting it all melt away, letting the past drip off her skin and disappear down the drain. And when she stepped out, wrapped in a towel so soft it felt like clouds. Something inside her felt lighter. She stood in front of the mirror again. Different. Still her, but not the same. A new version. A version that might just survive. She pulled on the oversized hoodie and sweatpants Nathan had left. They swallowed her frame, but for the first time, something swallowed her that wasn't cold. That wasn't fear. It was comfort. She walked back into the room. The bed looked less intimidating now. Less like something forbidden. More like something waiting for her. With slow, cautious steps, she pulled back the blanket. Slipped under. The sheets were cold at first. Then warm. Then everything. Her body sank into the mattress. Her head against the pillow. And for the first time in what felt like forever, she closed her eyes. And she was safe. Really safe. Morning sunlight spilled softly through the floor-to-ceiling windows, warming the room with a glow that felt unreal. Emma stirred, her eyes fluttering open slowly. For a split second, she forgot where she was. Her hand instinctively reached for nothing, the cold concrete floor, the thin layer of cardboard, the harsh noise of the city waking her up. But no, her hand met something soft, warm, clean. Her eyes shot open fully. White sheets, a real pillow, a blanket wrapped around her. For a moment, she just laid there, blinking, listening. Silence. Not the dangerous kind. Not the kind where you had to wake up fast before someone robbed you. Not the kind where you had to count how many minutes you had to leave the corner before someone told you to move. This was peace. Real, tangible, and terrifying. Her chest tightened. Her fingers gripped the blanket as her brain tried to convince her this wasn't real. Any second now, someone would burst in. Someone would yell. Tell her to get out. Remind her, this isn't for you. But instead, a soft knock. Gentle, careful. Then, Nathan's voice. Low, calm. Emma. Hey, it's just me. You awake? Her throat tightened. She swallowed. Why? Her voice cracked. I'm awake. The door opened just a little. Nathan peeked his head in. His smile was different. Not polite. Not forced. Not the kind people give because they feel obligated. It was real. Warm. Quiet. Hey. He stepped inside, holding a tray. I wasn't sure if you'd be awake yet, but thought maybe you'd be hungry. Her eyes widened. Her breath caught. You made me breakfast? Nathan chuckled softly, setting the tray on the nightstand. It's not much. Just eggs, toast, some fruit, coffee, and... Okay, maybe I also burned the first batch. His smile widened. But attempt number 2 worked out. Emma sat up slowly, the blanket still wrapped tightly around her shoulders like armor. Her hands trembled slightly as she glanced down at the tray. The smell hit her like a wave. Warm toast, fresh coffee, strawberries. Her throat burned. Her eyes stung. She blinked fast, biting her lip. Nathan, her voice cracked. No one's ever. She squeezed her eyes shut, shaking her head. No one's ever made me breakfast. Nathan's smile softened. His voice dropped. Then, it's about time someone did. Silence. Not awkward. Not uncomfortable. Just full. Heavy with something unspoken. Nathan glanced around, rubbing the back of his neck. I wasn't sure if you'd be okay coming downstairs. So I figured, this way, you could just breathe. Take your time. Emma nodded slowly. Her fingers traced the edge of the plate. Thank you. Her voice was small, but honest. Raw. Nathan leaned against the doorway, crossing his arms. Emma, you don't owe me anything. Not explanations. Not gratitude. Not anything. He paused. But you should know, you're safe here. As long as you need. No pressure. No rush. Her lips trembled. Her eyes stayed glued to the tray. I don't even know how to be here. In this. Around this. Her hands gestured vaguely toward the room, the house, the reality that felt so far from everything she'd known. Nathan's gaze softened. Then, let's figure it out. Together. Her head snapped up. Her breath caught. Her eyes locked with his. And for a moment, everything else faded. The walls, the city, the past, the noise. Just them, and something that neither of them could name. Not yet. but it was there, undeniable. Months passed, but to Emma, it felt like a lifetime. Or maybe the beginning of one. The woman who once hid behind oversized jackets, who folded herself small so the world wouldn't see her, now walked through the city with her head held higher. Not fully high yet, not perfectly confident, but higher, stronger. Nathan kept his promise. No, he did more than that. He didn't just give her a place to sleep. He gave her something far more dangerous, far more terrifying, something the world had stripped away from her long ago. A chance. At first, it was small things. A closet with clothes that weren't falling apart. Meals that didn't come from a trash bin. A toothbrush. Her own towel. Her own space. Then it was bigger. He offered her a job. Not out of pity. God, never that. He made that clear from day one. Help me at the company, he said. Start small. Reception. Assistant. Whatever you're comfortable with. Learn at your pace. But you deserve this. The first day, her hand shook. People stared, whispered. A few employees weren't kind. The world doesn't change overnight. But Nathan was there. So was Lucas, the little boy who, from day one, clung to her like family. Because that's what she had become. Slowly, the whispers stopped. Or maybe she just stopped hearing them. She learned. She adapted. She grew. And with every passing day, Nathan looked at her differently. Not as the stranger who saved his son. Not as someone he needed to protect. But as a woman who, somehow, had become the most important thing in his world. And her, she tried to fight it. Tried to convince herself it was gratitude. Or circumstance. Or loneliness. But every time their eyes met across the dinner table, every time his hand brushed hers accidentally, every time she heard him laugh at something Lucas said, her heart answered before her brain could shut it down. She was falling, and so was he. It didn't happen with fireworks, not with some grand confession under the rain. It happened on a quiet Tuesday. After dinner, Lucas was already asleep. They were clearing the table. Her hand brushed his. Neither of them pulled away. And Nathan just whispered, barely louder than a breath, I don't want to imagine my life without you in it anymore. Her hands trembled. Her throat tightened. Nathan, her voice broke. I don't know if I can be. His hand cupped her face gently, firmly. You don't have to be anything except here. With me. With us. Tears slipped down her cheeks before she could stop them. And when his lips brushed hers, soft, careful, asking, she didn't pull away. She didn't run. For the first time in forever, she let herself be loved. Laughter filled the backyard. Lucas ran across the grass, chasing the dog they'd adopted together. Nathan sat on the porch, coffee in hand, watching. Beside him, Emma, no longer the woman hiding behind fear. No longer the woman wondering if she deserved to exist. She was home. Her hand rested on Nathan's knee, his arm draped lazily over her shoulder. She watched Lucas laugh, her lips tugging into a smile that wasn't forced. It was real. It was hers. I still wake up some mornings, she whispered, and think this can't be real. Nathan turned his head, kissing her temple softly. It is, and it's only the beginning. She smiled, leaning into him. Yeah, the beginning. And as the camera would pull back, past the yard, past the house, past the city skyline glowing under the setting sun, a simple truth remained. Sometimes, the people the world throws away become exactly what someone else was searching for all along. And sometimes, broken souls don't just heal. They build something stronger. Together. And just like that, a story that started in chaos, fear, and loneliness ended exactly where no one ever expected, in love. A love that's born when two broken souls collide. A love that doesn't care where you came from, but only asks, where can we go? Together. Emma is no longer the invisible woman. Nathan is no longer the man hiding behind work and loneliness. And Lucas? Lucas didn't just gain the woman who saved him that day. He gained something far greater, a family. Because sometimes life breaks everything, only to show you that you can rebuild and build something even better. And if this story touched you, if it made you feel something deep inside, then tell me in the comments. Where in the world are you listening to this story from? I want to know how far this story is reaching. Who's out there on the other side, feeling this, living this, breathing this with me? And tell me, do you believe that love has the power to change lives? Because if there's one thing this story teaches us, it's that no matter where you are, no matter what you've been through, there's always a new beginning. Always. And maybe, just maybe, the ending we've been waiting for is really just the beginning.